I'm not an experienced flash photographer, and as a result, when I use flash, my pictures look terrible. My subjects look like deer caught in the headlights. As a result, I avoid using the flash. Billy, one of the Fuji guys, brought the new Fujifilm EF-X500 flash to show me how to use flash properly. We're using Fuji gear for this shoot, but many of the techniques and the settings are universal. Billy, the X-T2 comes with the EF-X8 flash. How do I use that effectively?
Hi Martin, thanks for having me here today. I do have this flash that's included with the X-T2 camera. It doesn't require any batteries at all, and it's simple. You have to attach it right to the hot shoe on the camera, and you flip it up, and the flash is ready to go.
Billy, what are the limitations of the small flash compared to the big one, the X500?
It's pretty obvious. The EF-X8 flash is a very compact flash, so it doesn't have a very strong effective range compared to a larger flash unit. This particular flash itself has an effective range of about 8 meters at about ISO 100. And so really the subject has to be within that distance for this flash to be very effective. To operate the flash itself, let's go into the camera's menu. And we want to go down to the flash settings. From here, there are several options. Some of the limitations on this flash, it doesn't have an LED light setting. It doesn't have radio control or optical controls to allow you to trigger other flashes. So these things are grayed out. It has a TTL lock mode. It remembers the last TTL used with the flash.
Sorry, what does TTL mean?
TTL is the camera's ability to see through the lens and meter the situation based on your camera settings. So depending on the shutter speed you're using, the aperture and the ISO, it knows and tells the flash what flash output to use in order to properly expose that subject.
So what are the right settings to use on the camera when you're using the flash?
For this particular flash, because it's so compact and portable, it's great for just using in situations where you're really just shooting in the camera in automatic mode. So generally you can have the shutter speeds and the aperture to auto, and you let the flash kind of decide on its output. If you go into the menu system of the camera, you can go to the flash settings, and from here you can see the flash function settings is set to TTL. We shoot in automatic. The camera is really a fully automatic system.
So TTL is actually like the auto or program setting for the flash?
That's correct. And of course, with TTL, if we go in here, you can also actually compensate so that if you feel that the camera is not getting the exposure right and you want it to be a little bit brighter, then you can actually compensate and make that flash output 2 stops higher. Or you can actually undercompensate that subject if you think the flash is too strong and it's washing out the subject. So there is some control over the automatic mode through the TTL.
So that's like the EV adjustment for flash?
Very similar to that, that's correct.
Right. So would I use it indoors or outdoors or both?
The flash, of course, can be used indoors and outdoors. In situations where you're using the flash indoors, again, you need to understand its effective range. So you're in a studio environment that's very compact like this one, then this flash is going to work very well because all the subjects that you're shooting are within its effective range. But when you're shooting in a convention center or a wedding situation, you know, the hall is very large and the flash is not going to be really effective at all. So you really need to have the subject pretty close to this particular flash. Now when shooting outdoors, of course, this flash is great for filling in the subject shadows that may be under the eyes, when shooting with the sun either behind them or when shooting in a shade situation.
What are the advantages of upgrading to the larger flash, the EF-X500?
Well, there's several advantages of course, upgrading your flash. First off, it's its effective range. This particular flash here has a flash effective range of about 50 meters at ISO 100. That's a huge, huge difference, allowing you to shoot in, you know, banquet halls and wedding facilities that require a lot more power output, or the subject itself is much, much further away. In addition to that, of course, because it uses external battery power, the flash recycle time is much, much faster. With the built-in flash option that you can attach onto it because it uses the internal batteries, that flash recycle time is much slower.
I noticed that there are lots of physical things that you can do with this flash, that it rotates back and forth and up and down. How do I use that?
Great thing about a flash like this is that it has tilt and swivel options. And what that allows the photographer to do is to direct the light to somewhere in the ceilings and have it bounce off so that you have a more natural ambient light that doesn't really create harsh shadows on the subject itself, still allowing you to capture the ambience of the scene. So again, whether you're shooting in a portrait orientation, it allows you to rotate in different directions, or shooting in a landscape as well, you can tilt it up and down.
Show me how that works. Let's put the flash on.
Okay, just like the EF-X flash, we're going to just attach it to the hot shoe. We're going to turn on the flash. I have the camera set to ISO 200, the aperture at f8. Generally, we're shooting in the studio here, so I want everything somewhat in focus. And I've just set the flash sync speed to 1/25th of a second. I'm going to take a shot right now and see what happens. Okay, there you go. Zooming in here, you can kind of see the flash. It kind of fills the subject in, and it's pretty even. Now, because the background itself is very dark, in order to get the background in that shot, I can boost up the ISO. Let's try that again.
Sure.
Now, this time with the ISO increased from 200, and I'm just going to bring it right up to 1600 ISO instead, and take that exact same shot. In that same exact setting, by just increasing the ISO, if we can get some of the more ambient lighting. So you can see that it's a little bit better than the first shot.
What happens now when we swivel the flash up?
Okay, so simply pushing the button on here allows us to actually tilt the flash upwards and allows me to bounce the light off the ceiling. Again, if the ceiling's red, you can get a little red cast, which could be actually really cool to the effects.
So here in the YouTube studio space in Toronto, actually, the ceiling's quite high and it probably doesn't look very reflective at all.
Well, let's take that picture, Maarten, and see.
Well, that does look a little bit dark. Can we get it a little brighter?
Going to the flash menu system, we can actually compensate for the TTL. And let's just test it out and boost it to the maximum. And let's take a look at that output and see. We just overcompensated for TTL, and it's actually much nicer exposure.
On this flash, we've got this little frosty hood on it. You don't have that there. What's the advantage of using this, or what's the right time to use this?
The EF-X500 includes that, what we call a diffuser.
Okay.
And it allows us to, as the term implies, diffuse the light a little bit so that it's much softer, not as harsh, and it spreads the light a little bit more evenly. Typically, you can actually aim the flash straight at the subject, use a diffuser, and you get a different effect than if you were just to not use the diffuser. So we can take a look at that as well.
Sure, let's try that.
I'm going to take that shot, and let's see what happens now with the diffuser.
So that looks a little bright to me. Can we try it with compensation down a little bit?
Let's just try maybe just 2 stops. We're doing it extreme so that you can kind of see the effects between over and under compensating with the flash. And then we have that shot, a little bit more softer again, less light that's coming directly at you.
I kind of like that better. It looks a little more natural.
There's also a wide panel that's built onto the flash, so you can just pull it right from the front, Maarten. And that allows you to kind of spread the light, again, even wider than it is.
And then there's this little white, what's that for?
So that's the bounce card, and it allows us to kind of bounce the flash off of that card and kind of direct that flash to the subject again.
So with the bigger flash, do I need to change the settings in the menu?
The menu does open up to a few more options. I've already customized the XE2 to give me quick access to the flash settings menu by just pushing the directional pad down. Earlier you saw that I was only able to compensate plus or minus 2. I can now go all the way up to 5 plus or minus. The flash itself, because it has some built-in controls, can recognize what type of lens I have attached and what focal length it's on. I have it on auto right now for simplicity's sake, but I can manually set it to the different zoom settings that correlates with the focal length of my lens. The sync option now opens up to me. I now have what's called the focal plane high-speed sync option, and that allows me to shoot at faster shutter speeds beyond the normal flash sync settings on this camera, which is 1/250th of a second.
Can we do an example of how that works?
Yeah, Maarten, I've set the shutter speeds here to 1/1000th of a second, which should be able to freeze the shot.
Yep.
And all I need is something that you can throw up in the air. Perfect. So I'm going to fire a bunch of shots and count to 3 and let you throw that. 1, 2, 3. And as you can see, the flash fired a bunch of shots even in continuous mode. So there, as you can see, if we didn't have the ability to shoot at faster shutter speeds than 1/250th of a second, that bottle would actually be pretty blurred. And so the faster sync speed allows us to really freeze subjects in motion.
So I noticed that there was one menu item that you skipped over. It said LED. What is that?
Well, the EF-X500 flash has a built-in LED light. If we go into the menu here, you can see we can have it turned on or off. The settings also allow us to choose things like the catch light. So we can use the LED to turn on when the flash fires, and it allows us to create that little catch light in the eyes.
Is that something we can try?
Yes, let's try that out. So I don't know if you saw that quickly, Maarten, the LED came on.
It all
in the
looks
front.
like one flash to me.
We'll take a look at the picture here, and maybe we'll zoom in on the eyes a little bit here. I'm just going to push in on the command down. As you can see, there's a little bright light in the pupil there, and that's basically the catch light. That's the LED light turning on the same instance that the flash is firing.
Can the LED light be turned on continuously, like for video?
To control that, of course, we have to use the flash menu that's on the device itself. Push the first button, and it toggles between the different options to the last option, which is the LED. From there, I can push the on and off button. The third button right beside that on the flash itself is the brightness of the LED. And so again, pushing that, you can see it's turned on.
Yeah.
And I can rotate the dial on the back of the flash to reduce the LED output on that. So the LED light, of course, can also be used as an AF assist lamp so that it turns on automatically to help the camera autofocus in lower light situations.
Billy, you said that one of the things that the X500 does is a wireless mode. So you've taken my flash from here and put it in this unit over here. So show me how wireless works.
That's a great thing about this new flash, is that it can control multiple flash units. First off, on the back of the flash itself, we have to switch this one to the master mode that's on my camera. The flash that's over there beside you, I have set that to the remote option. Now generally when I control multiple flash units, I can use TTL. Really, I want to manually set my exposure to get the proper shots. I set the power on this to 1/5/12 power because I only want this to trigger the other flash. By just reducing the power output, this flash really is just talking to the other flash. It's not creating any extra effects on the scene. I have the other flash on group B, and from there I can control the power from it. It's currently set to full power, and let's just see how this works. So that's kind of interesting. As you can see, the power output was way too high, and this is why we play around in the manual settings. So let's just try that shot one more time. We're going to reduce that. Let's just go right down to maybe 1/32nd there. See what happens. So the top
But that's
flash,
really just trial and error to get the right number. Right?
exactly,
Yeah.
and this is typically what happens in a normal studio situation. And you can see here, this is actually a great shot of you.
Thank you. But the other thing you did here was you put it in a softbox.
I did, and the
Yeah.
softbox helps just to soften the light output. Again, I don't really need the softbox. I can take it off. I can use the diffuser that's included and almost create a similar effect as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, Billy, thanks for your time today. I think I've got a bunch of things to think about and a bunch of things to try when I go shooting with the flash. Where would I go if I want more information about flashes?
Well, Maarten, we have a channel called the Fuji Guys on YouTube, and we do a lot of videos on our products, including the new flash system. We do have one specifically on some of the settings and control that goes into more details, so you can check that out, of course, on our channel.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.